the accompanying fever. However, on occasions, the illness can progress to severe dengue, which can result in organ failure, bleeding, and severe fluid depletion that can lead to shock and even death. Therefore, it is important for persons who are experiencing fever, vomiting, severe abdominal pain, bleeding under the skin, feeling very weak, or getting confused to seek immediate attention. Let us work together to protect ourselves against dengue.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Almighty God, by whom alone kings reign and princes decree justice, and from whom alone cometh all counsel, wisdom and understanding. We, thine unworthy servants here gathered together, in thy name do most humbly beseech thee to send down thy heavenly wisdom from above to direct and guide us in all our consultations. And grant that we, having thy fair always before our eyes, and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the result of all our counsels may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the king and the public weal, peace and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estates within the same, in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
You may be seated. I'm not sure why. At per time, our parliament begins the session descending into disorder. I hope it will not continue to be the state of affairs for the Parliament of Jamaica. If you have no respect for yourselves, this Honourable House now resumes its sitting. Once again, I wish to welcome everyone to the sitting of the Honourable House of Representatives for today, Tuesday, October 21st, 2025. As always, it is an honor and privilege to do so. I wish to extend special welcome to His Excellency, Ambassador Fermin Quinenos Sanchez, the Ambassador of Cuba to Jamaica, who is here with us today. He's here with his second secretary at the Cuban Embassy, Mr. Rolando Davila. I wish to also welcome all who are visiting with us here, both in the gallery and those who have joined us via the various social media platforms, and PBCJ live stream. Clerk, call of the roll.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Green, Dr. Holness, Dr. Chang, Mrs. Williams, Mr. Bartlett, Ms. Grange, Dr. Tufton, Mr. Mackenzie, Mr. Montague, Mr. Vaz, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Charles Jr., Mr. Morgan, Mrs. Marks, Mr. Samuda, Dr. Wheatley, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Terrelong, Mr. Whittle, Mrs. Dalrymple Filbert, Ms. Morrison, Ms. Lee, Mr. Donovan Williams, Mr. Main, Ms. Crawford, Mr. Delroy Williams, Ms. Hamilton, Mr. Sivright, Mr. Azan, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brownberg, Mr. Buchanan, Mr. Bunting, Ms. Burchell, Mr. Campbell, Mr. Cousins, Mr. Crawford, Ms. Daly, Dr. Dawes, Mr. Golding, Mr. Gordon, Mr. Hales, Mr. Hines, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Ms. Jess, Mrs. Malahoo Fort, Mrs. Miller Bennett, Mr. Morris, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Newell, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Ms. Perkis, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Dr. Russell, Ms. Shaw, Mr. Smith, Mr. Dwayne Vaz, and Mr. Warmington. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
We will have circulated today Speaker's ruling, order of speaking and use of microphones in accordance with Standing Order 32 of the House of Representatives, which governs the time and manner of speaking. I wish to clarify procedures regarding the use and operation of the microphones within the chamber. Standing Order 32 provides that a member desiring to speak shall rise in his or her place, and if called upon, shall address his observations to the Speaker or chairperson. No member shall speak unless called upon by the Speaker or chair. If two or more members raise at the same time, the Speaker or chair shall call upon the member who first catches his or her eye. To enhance the efficiency and orderly conduct of proceedings and to afford members who avail themselves of a better opportunity of catching the Speaker's eyes, members who wish to speak shall raise their hand, whereupon their names will be recorded by the table clerk. The Speaker will acknowledge members in the order in which their names are recorded. Members may only address the House and operate the microphone once formally recognized by the Speaker. Any attempt to speak without being acknowledged or to manipulate the microphone system independently is forbidden, as it disrupts the orderly conduct of business and is inconsistent with the principles of the Standing Order 32. Ministers who are answering questions must keep their microphone on until both the question and answer session is completed. Similarly, members who are posing questions should keep their microphone on until they are satisfied their questions have been sufficiently answered. This procedure is intended to prevent multiple microphones being activated simultaneously and to ensure that the sound system operates efficiently. I will circulate. So members, this is literally because of some of the chaos we had last week. So if a member has their microphone on and the person turns it off and then they need clarification or they want to do follow-up, they are now out of line in terms of being able to continue. Someone else takes precedence. In the same way, the minister who we had expected to answer the questions would have turned their microphone off, and based on how the system operates, we now would have to turn all mics off to get the minister to be able to respond. So, for some persons who weren't listening, I'm going to repeat. Ministers who are answering questions must keep their microphone on until both the question and the answer session is completed. That way, anyone who has a question of the minister and the minister needs to be able to respond, their mic is always on and is therefore not in the sequence that disturbs the members of the House making an effort to have a question answered by that minister. Similarly, and the member who is speaking, I want you to listen. Similarly, members posing questions should keep their microphone on until they are satisfied that their questions have been sufficiently answered. This procedure is intended to ensure that the operations of the House is efficient. Last week, we would have had persons who needed to do clarification, follow-up, but by then you had turned your mic off and another member's mic is now on. The mic system is a very efficient system because it allows each member, without any bias, to be able to speak one after the other, However, when we have a situation where persons turn their mic off or the minister answering questions has completed their presentation statement by minister and turned their mic off, it literally disrupts the system. To complete, when two or more members raise to speak, I retain complete discretion over who is called. And this is consistent with Standing Order 32 and the established parliamentary practice. You may also look at Erskine May Parliamentary Practice, 25th edition, page 484. The rules regarding recognition, raising in one's place, and addressing speaker or chair are not optional. They are essential to maintaining the dignity, decorum, and efficiency of the House. Members, will immediately circulate same. House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you for that clarification. I think it will help in relation to the orderly functioning of the House. Today, Madam Speaker, we do have a statement by Minister, the Honorable Matthew Samuda, the Minister of Water, Environment and Climate Change.
Minister from St. Anne Northeast, member from St. Anne Northeast, the Minister of Water, Environment, Climate Change will now make his statement.
Madam Speaker, I crave members' indulgence because even while I was sitting here, the most recent update would have just come to us from the NOA in terms of their exchange with the Met Service. So the statements is actually being printed upstairs now currently, but I have shared the digital copy in our caucus, and I've shared it with opposition leader of business to share digitally in your caucus groups that you can follow digitally in the interim while the printing is taking place. With your leave, Madam
Minister, your indulgence. Members, we are on the agenda item statement by ministers for the record.
Madam Speaker, I rise this afternoon to update this Honourable House and the people of Jamaica on the development of Tropical Storm Melissa, which has formed over the Caribbean Sea and is now posing a threat to several territories in our region, including our beloved island. Madam Speaker, Melissa's formation is a sobering reminder that this year's Atlantic hurricane season will not be ending quietly. As of this morning, reports from the National Hurricane Center, the division of the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration in the USA, which tracks and predicts tropical cyclones, indicated that the storm is churning approximately 480 kilometers, which is approximately 300 miles south of Port-au-Prince, Haiti, or 630 kilometers southeast of Morant Point, with maximum sustained winds of 50 miles per hour and or approximately 85 kilometers per hour. Now that the area of low pressure has strengthened to a tropical storm, the system has slowed significantly and further decreased in the forward speed, and further decreases in the forward speed is indeed projected. Hence, the system is likely to linger in the Caribbean waters for the next few days and take a little while longer to reach our shores. We are now expecting to start experiencing heavy rains sometime tomorrow night at current projections, but to note that the situation is indeed fluid and the Hurricane Center and our own Met Service is indeed monitoring closely. Now that the area of current projections show that it could intensify to a Category 1 hurricane by latest Saturday, fueled by unusually warm waters of the Caribbean at this time of the year. I must emphasize that the increased heat is no doubt in our mind related to broad-based global climate change. At present, a tropical storm watch has been issued for Jamaica. While the forecast remains uncertain, meteorological models suggest that Jamaica could experience heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and possible flash flooding, especially in the east, as the storm tracks northward later this week. We are particularly mindful of the potential for landslides in our mountainous parishes, especially in areas where soil saturation is already high, as we would have seen the October rains on in earnest even this afternoon. Madam Speaker, while the center of Melissa's projected path currently points towards Hispaniola, the storm's proximity to Jamaica demands our highest level of vigilance. As we have learned through experience, tropical systems of this nature can shift course with little warning, and even indirect impacts can bring significant disruption to lives, livelihoods, and property. Our emergency management teams, under the coordination of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, are on full alert. Importantly, I want to assure you that your government is working tirelessly to ensure that the systems we have developed to protect you are indeed activated. The Met Service of Jamaica, for which I have portfolio responsibility, continues to monitor the storm's movement closely and will provide continuous updates as new data becomes available. This administration is one that puts the concept of joined-up government certainly into practice. So the Met Service and ODPEM have been collaborating closely to ensure a smooth flow of information and preparatory activities. Relevant ministries and agencies have been advised to activate their preparedness protocols. In this respect, I'm also speaking and sharing on behalf of my colleague, Minister Desmond McKenzie, the minister responsible for ODPEM, who is overseas on personal business. We are in close contact and continue to monitor to ensure that we're able to help Jamaica navigate this tropical storm threat. As you are aware, ODPEM is the country's primary disaster preparedness response agency and works closely with all local authorities in the preventative phase of disaster management. In this respect, disaster coordinators are on alert to assist potentially vulnerable persons in our communities across the island. Additionally, the island-wide network of 881 shelters will be made available as the need arises, and the shelter managers are already on alert and preparing the designated spaces. Later today, at 3:30 p.m., the National Response Team will be meeting to evaluate the situation and the next steps. This team is coordinated by the ODPEM and involves a wide range of stakeholders, including the Met Service and municipal corporations. On behalf of Minister Morgan, I am advising also that the NWA is currently assessing drains and will take necessary emergency action based on the current threat assessment. Madam Speaker, it is not lost on us that Melissa is the 13th named storm of the season, but notably the first to form in the Caribbean Sea. This detail is significant. The extended period of calm in our region allowed sea temperatures to rise to record levels, creating what scientists now call rocket fuel for storm intensification. This is yet another stark demonstration of the urgent climate reality confronting small island developing states like Jamaica, a reality that demands both local preparedness and continued advocacy for global climate action. It is important to note that Jamaica is coordinating with our foreign partners while monitoring the storm with its fully operational Doppler radar system. In the coming days, we will continue to prioritize public safety, accurate communication, and coordination among all government and community partners. We urge citizens, particularly those in flood-prone and low-lying areas, to remain attentive to official advisories, avoid misinformation, and take all necessary precautions. I encourage all citizens to monitor updates from the Met Services, ODPEM, JIS, and indeed the JCF. There is no need for citizens to panic, but there is the need to prepare and to follow official sources of information. Madam Speaker, I want to assure you that your government, led by the Most Honourable Prime Minister, who is also Chairman of the National Disaster Risk Management Council, stands ready to respond to any eventuality. While we hope that Tropical Storm Melissa will spare our island significant impact, as it appears it may, we must prepare for the worst, even if we pray for the best. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. The member from St. Mary Central.
Madam Speaker, I rise today thanks to the people of Central St. Mary who have reposed their confidence in me as their Member of Parliament, and Opposition Leader Mark Golding, who has appointed me to shadow the portfolio, who has appointed me to shadow the portfolio. I want to congratulate Minister Matthew Samuda on being assigned to his own ministry. I know previously he was the minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for the portfolio. But climate change, as I've always thought, deserves its own ministry, and I want to applaud him on being appointed to that ministry. We on this side stand ready to work with the government to ensure that our people, the people of Jamaica, have access to proper information, to accurate information, and to timely information as we prepare for what may come. But we're not altogether pleased, Minister. Events of this nature, we believe, are things we can prepare for. We know that one of the results of climate change has been more adverse weather conditions. And as a new member of this House, I find it unfortunate that I have not been a part of any briefing to advise me on what preparatory steps have been taken to get us ready during this disaster period. I'm told, Madam Speaker, that sometime in the summer, some funds would have been provided for drain cleaning. I imagine a lot of those drains have now blocked up, and a lot of those verges have experienced overgrowth. And people in places like Port Maria will not go to bed confident tonight that should the rains come later on, they will have the safety. And I note, Madam Speaker, that the Minister of Local Government was mentioned. I want to point out that the councillors in the St. Mary Municipal Corporation indicate that the last allocation they received was for July. And so they are not in any position to step in and readiness. So while we pray for help, and while we hope for help, and while we wish for help, Madam Speaker, we had an opportunity to prepare, and we did not adequately prepare. Madam Speaker, I also want to speak on behalf of some of my colleagues who welcomed the Spark program, which should have been addressing some of the roads and drains in their various constituencies. The reports I have received, Madam Speaker, is that some of those roads have been dug up, pipes have been burst, roads are in a state of disrepair, and people are worried about what the condition will be when these heavy rains come down in the next 48 hours. We also came here today, Madam Speaker, to hear, since there was no preparation for what may come, and not all the fault of the minister, because the Ministry of Works and Local Government had a role to play in the preparation. But since there's no evidence of preparation, Madam Speaker, we were hoping to hear that some emergency steps would have been taken to ensure that we can get some of those drains clean, to mitigate against the possible flooding that will come. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Minister spoke about the island network, the island-wide network of 881 shelters that will be made available as the need arises. I would love an update on the state of these shelters, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would love an update on the state of the bedding and on the availability of food in these shelters to take care of the people, the vulnerable, who may have to retreat to these shelters. 11 seconds. So, Madam Speaker, while we stand ready to work and to support and to provide timely and accurate information, we need more than word from the government of the day, Madam Speaker. We need action from the government to get us to a state of ready as we anticipate this storm. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank
No, that's just...
Would you be so kind as to take your seat, member? Member Daly, you had stepped in late. I'm asking you not to turn your mic on. You will be able to take a look at the ruling, which was read out before you came into the sitting. That's why your mic is going off. All right, so members, in this order, your hands were raised. The member from St. Mary Southeast was first, the member from St. Catherine Eastern after, then the member from Kingston Eastern. After that, the member from St. Andrew Southeast was fourth. And I was asking, that's why she came down to confirm if you were gesticulating for the member beside you or yourself. I never saw. And the last person was Dr. Brownberg, member from Southwest St. Andrew. So members, it is not funny. I know we like to be hilarious. However, this is important to ensure that we don't spend our sessions at Parliament going over mic proceedings. It is very disorderly. And every effort was made to conceptualize a mechanism that is in keeping with the standing order, but that works for you. I can send for him. It will be the same. Speaker is the speaker. It doesn't matter which of the two of us. Minister, equally, I'm asking you, once you have turned on your mic to commence responding to questions, that you do not turn it off until the session is complete. As a reminder, let's see how that system works today. There's one member who said his hand was up. Member from Clarendon, you said your hand was up? Because I didn't see you. Yeah. I didn't see him either. All right, so members, let's go. Question from St. Mary's Southeast, please. Question.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I have the honor of rising as a member from Southeast St. Mary.
Let me stop that right now. You will have an opportunity, every member of this House, to do your constituency debate and to grandstand.
Thank you.
At statement by Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister.
Member from St. Mary. Member from St. Mary Southeast.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from St. Mary Southeast.
Yes.
For those persons who are not au fait with the standing orders and the operations of Parliament, I will advise you. Statement by Minister is followed by a 5-minute response. It is the only response that is made in the House to a statement by Minister. After which, only questions are taken. And your questions need to be exactly that.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Once again,
Madam,
please avail yourself of Standing Order 11A with also emphasis on Standing Order 17, subsection 2.
thank you, Madam.
Proceed,
Madam
please.
Speaker, simply saying that I am pleased to stand in the capacity as member from Southeastern St. Mary. And I want to thank the Minister for his statement. Landslides are a feature of these systems that are before us and that we are discussing today. In fact, over the past
Members, I am sure all of us, member, please take your seat. Members, if you would like to proceed, the order in respect of statement by ministers, and I'll reiterate it because I do not think any member is desirous of standing and making a statement when you have been advised by the Speaker that it is not to be done. You are required to stand and ask your question. And it is for the efficient order of this Honorable House. And it is for every single member of the House. So members, whether from the government side or the opposition side, may ask a question. And it is only a question that you're allowed to ask at this juncture. It is necessary. No, it's not going to be. Member from Northwest St. Anne, from Northwest St. Catherine, you same one member. And if I call your name based on the standing orders, so we could have finished long time. But it is obvious that it is going to be a consistent practice, so it ends today right here. Member, when you're called, ask your question and take your seat. Keep your mic on in the event that your question is not properly answered. Members, additionally, do not stand and ask a question that was already asked. Member from St. Mary, Southeast.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. So as I was saying in framing my question, Madam Speaker and Minister, land slippage has been a feature of these systems. In fact, over the past few days, we have had a lot of rains in Southeast, and we have had significant landslides blocking several roads. In terms of the engagement with the NAA as it relates to clearing of these roads, Minister, I'm advised that there is a reluctance on the part of the contractors
Member,
to...
Member, point of order.
Yes.
Point of order. The question being asked by a member must be related to the statement made by the minister.
But I'm going there. I'm doing that.
The minister is not in charge of landslide.
But we
You
are
can
talking
ask me
about
a
the
question.
system.
Okay? new members need to know the rules. You can't go landslide and road on the environment and climate change. It has nothing to do with what it says. The question must be related to the statement made by the minister. That be in relation to the statement by the minister.
Yes. May I proceed, Madam Speaker? The member who raised the...
No member. Your
Can I proceed?
leader of opposition business stood. Okay. Would you be so kind as to allow him?
Madam Speaker, I am very much aware of your intention, but I'm asking, Madam Speaker, especially as questions are framed, for there to be some leeway in allowing the member, especially where the issue is already raised in the statement, as it was. And it was just in reference to that statement that the question was being framed. I'm asking, Madam Speaker.
He didn't stand on a point of order, however, he was given the latitude as he was speaking on behalf of the members on his side of the House. So that's why I permitted the member to speak. Thanks, opposition, leader of opposition business. Members, I am happy to sit here very quietly until you are ready to continue with the sitting. Member from St. Mary Eastern, from St. Mary Southeastern.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member who rise on a point of order from St. Catherine Southwest is actually correct. I have heard the pleadings of the leader of opposition business in the House. However, the statement by the minister is as it relates to the weather system, even if reference is made to landslides. In respect of questions you're asking about landslides and clearing of blockage and its connection to NAA, or in fact, even, that's what he asked. I listened to his question. I'm not sure if some persons even listen. It would not be an appropriate question for the minister based on the statement he made.
But with
so
all this
phrase your question in keeping. And members,
Madam Speaker, the issue that we are discussing in terms of the system...
No, member, ask your question, and that's not an appropriate question.
Can they, and thank you for allowing me, Madam Speaker.
Ask your question.
Can the minister advise me and the House if, because as I said, there is a difficulty in terms of contractors indicating that they are not getting paid to clear the road.
Member, please take your seat. Member, take your seat. The member from St. Mary Southeast, please take your seat. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I think, as has been said, I think the House would flow a lot better if members would go directly to the question, right? There is no need for a preamble, right? Just ask the question as you were about to do, and then we would recognize that the question that you were about to ask is not in the remit of the minister who gave the statement. So I would say to members, just go directly to the question. If there is need for additional clarification, when the ministers are answering, they will ask. Just ask directly the questions.
The member from St. Catherine East, you may now turn your mic on.
So, Madam Speaker.
No, you don't have any more questions. Do you have any other questions, member? So, member, once again, I hope you took note, ask your question. And member, this is an observation that has been said to every single member of parliament in the previous dispensation. And I would want to also say it for the benefit of every member here. None of us as members of parliament are to be involved in any procurement and contract arrangements. So please refrain from those type of statements or questions. No, member, hold on. So the arrangement of turning on your mic is what allows you to speak. If your mic is off, you should not speak in the House. That is the standing orders.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and that's why I was given the context, but I'll ask the question specific. Is the minister aware that the outstanding payments to contractors
No. Member from St. Mary Southeast, take your seat. Member from St. Catherine. Member from no. The member from St. Catherine Southwest, what is your point of order?
The issue I've already ruled on that issue. Payments by NW has nothing to do with Minister of Environment, Climate Control and Water. And he makes no mention in the statement by Minister. Questions must be related to the statement made by the Minister. And you already ruled on that. Did he talk about payment? You nincompoop? Did he speak about payment?
The member from St. Catherine East. The member from St. Catherine East, please ask your question.
I want to say something.
Leader of the opposition. Leader of the opposition. Leader of the opposition, you may make your statement on the mic as the leader of the opposition bench so that I can have it properly recorded. No, he's making a statement.
Madam Speaker.
Do you have a point of order? Do you have a point of order? Do you have a point of order, member?
Madam Speaker, I wish to state that members of parliament are
What's
not...
your point of order, member?
I find the line of questioning by the member to be very dangerous, as members of parliament are not party to contracts between the National Works Agency and the contractors. So it is very dangerous for a member without having access, unless they have access to the books of the National Works Agency, to stand in Parliament to make claims about payment of contractors without providing any evidence of it. Are you a party to a contract between the government and contractors? It's a very dangerous activity, Madam Speaker. Very dangerous.
Thank you, member. House Leader.
So, Madam Speaker, I appreciate that we do have new members in the House. And, you know, it does not have to be in a spirit of acrimony. The Speaker is trying to give directions in relation to the question that is being asked, guidance. Now, the standing orders say clearly that the proper object of a question is to obtain information on a question of fact which is in the official cognizance of the minister to whom it is addressed. So if the Minister of Environment gets up and speaks, and you start by asking him about the NWA, which is not under, you start by asking him, guys, you start by asking him about the NWA, which is not under his purview, then that would not be a proper question. And that's what the Speaker is saying. So once you start like that, then the Speaker and other members will intervene to say that on a point of order that is not what is meant. So what I would say to you, Speaker, if the member can ask a question that does not fly in the face of the standing orders, that is something that the minister has under his portfolio, there will be no problem. So if you ask that question, fine. But if you don't, if you start with something, then the Speaker will intervene. Thank you, Speaker.
Members, as Speaker of this Honorable House, I listen very keenly to the statements made when questions are to be asked. The question being asked by the member is improper and so ruled. Please move on from that statement. It is your third time being told. Your third time being told. You may ask for clarification, member from St. Catherine Northwest.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, a statement was made today by Minister who is appointed to a particular portfolio. In that statement, paragraph 5, the Minister said, and I quote, "We are particularly mindful of the potential for landslides in our mountainous parishes, especially in areas of soil saturation. is already high. Therefore, I am confused as to how it is that it is not appropriate within a question to this particular statement, regardless of the minister's portfolio. The minister was appointed by the government to make this particular statement. Therefore, without being properly briefed.
Member, thank you very much. You may take your seat. No, member, you may take your seat. Member, take your seat, please. Member, take your seat, member. Member, take your seat. Member. Member. Questions, page 8 of Standing Orders. Number 14, nature of questions. Questions may be put to a minister relating to any subject or department with the responsibility for which he has been charged, or with regard to which he has been assigned the responsibility of answering the questions. Member. Members. Members, are there any more questions? Members, are there any more questions?
Madam Speaker, I had written to you earlier, and I'm not too sure if you are...
Member, please do not speak about writing to me earlier unless it is that you are aware that your communication has reached me. I have nothing that you have written to me about. So, leader of opposition business, any statement you will be making in respect of writing me, I would like to be written to and see such first. Statement by ministers. My last ask, are there any other questions on this statement by minister? Any other question on this statement by minister? Leader of opposition business, you would have to come and indicate to me exactly of what you speak. Because, yes, you may approach. So members, member, that's not how the speaker operates. So I'm going to say it for the final time. Your question must be as it relates to the statement that was made by Minister today. Your question must be exactly in keeping with the statement by Minister. That is the ruling. Your question should not be questions about National Works Agency, Ministry of Health, and all the other ministries that this minister is not responsible for. All your questions must be questions in respect of his statement and ministry. So this is my last time. And that is a ruling of the Speaker. Member from St. Mary, Southeast.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The minister, in his statement, said this administration is one that puts the concept of
just go straight to the question,
government.
member.
Is the minister aware of outstanding amounts?
Member, please take your seat. Please take your seat. Please take your seat. Members, are there any other questions in respect of the statement by Minister? Are there any other questions? The member from St. James West Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my question to the Minister is about the preparedness protocols of the relevant ministries and agencies. Where can they be accessed?
The member from Westmoreland Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's a question to the Minister. Quickly, Minister, will there be, in the light of the impending disaster, will there be any emergency funding being made available to satisfy like drain cleaning and stuff like that, knowing that we're still in the hurricane season?
Are there any other questions? Minister? Oh, you have another one?
Madam Speaker, I am here on behalf of the residents of Southeast St. Andrew who are anxious because 4 weeks ago, when we had heavy rains,
what is your question?
I'm coming to it.
No,
I am coming
ask
to
your
my question. I am coming to my question.
Members, it is very evident. It is very evident. It is Members, it is very evident that the questions are not in respect of the statement by Minister. The member from Westmoreland Western, from Westmoreland Central, his question was not in respect of a statement made by the Minister, and neither is this question being asked by, neither is this being asked by the member from St. Andrew Southeast.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Members, there's a question from the Leader of Opposition, the member from St. Andrew South.
I'm very concerned by the way in which the proceedings are being conducted. We are attempting to ask questions. We are attempting to ask questions arising from the statement. The statement was a wide-ranging statement. It not only touched and concerned the specific minister's portfolio, he also said he was speaking on behalf of the Minister of Local Government, who is overseas, who has direct responsibility for disaster preparedness. On more than one occasion, the member on this side who has sought to ask a question has been prevented from completing the question, and instead a point of order has been taken, which I don't know what the ruling was, or you yourself have intervened to prevent the statement, the question from being asked. I want to know what the question was that the member for South East St. Mary was seeking to ask. I don't know what his question is.
Member. If we have no other questions, announcements. Announcements.
Laid on the table of the House are the following: annual reports and
Members,
audited.
announcement, please.
Laid on the table of the House are the following: annual reports, laid on the table of the House are the following: annual report and audited financial statements for eGov Jamaica Limited for the financial year 2024-2025. The National Housing Trust Housing Benefits Special Selection for Catherine Estates Housing Development Batch 1 Order 2025, Masmere Flats Housing Development Order 2025, and Industrial Cove Manor Housing Development Order 2025 under the National Housing Trust Act. Jamaica Public Bodies First Supplementary Estimates of Revenue and Expenditure for the year ending March 2026. Jamaica Second Supplementary Estimates 2025-2026. The Auditor General's Department Certified Appropriation Accounts under Head 4000B for the Ministry of Labor and Social Security for the year 2014-2015, and finally under Head 51000C, Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries for the year 2021-2022. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Clerk. Bills brought from the Senate. Petitions. Papers. Reports from committees. Notices of motions given orally.
Madam
The member
Speaker,
from St. Catherine
Southwest.
Southwest.
Madam Speaker, I wish to give notice that the next sitting of the House shall move. Whereas Section 39, subsection A, subsection B of Jamaica Constitution, Order in Council 1962, states that, subject to provision of Section 40 of this Constitution, any person who at the date of this appointment or nomination for election, A, is a Commonwealth citizen of age or between 21 years or upwards, and B, has been ordinary resident in Jamaica for the immediate preceding 12 months, shall be qualified to be appointed as a senator or elected as a member of the House of Representatives, and no other person shall be qualified. And whereas the current voting age in Jamaica is 18 years, and whereas Section 40, subsection 2, subsection 8 states, no person shall be qualified to be appointed as senator or elected as member of Parliament, a member of the House of Representatives, who is, by virtue of his own act, under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power or state. And where the Supreme Court of Jamaica interprets this to mean even the renewal of a passport by an individual born in a foreign country to be by Jamaican parents, and whereas circumstances have changed since the adoption of this Constitution 1962, which has seen several amendments, and whereas a Jamaican should never be deprived of an opportunity to be elected to his House of Representatives by reason of holding a foreign passport. Be it resolved that Section 38, subsection A, be it resolved that Section 39, subsection A of the Constitution be amended to read, is a Commonwealth citizen of the age of 18 years or upwards. Be it further resolved that Section 40, subsection 2, subsection A of the Constitution be deleted.
Thank you, Member. Minister, you have a stay. Yes, it's your turn now. Mr. Terlong, could you turn your mic on, please?
I don't know for this. No. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, thank you, sir. Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Whereas this Honourable House has on the past 16 occasions approved a motion in support of Cuba's resolution submitted in the United Nations General Assembly entitled Necessity of Ending the Economic, Commercial and Financial Embargo imposed by the United States of America against Cuba. And whereas the 63-year-old policy of economic blockade remains in place, despite the fact that 187 member states of the United Nations, including Jamaica, representing the vast majority of the international community, voted last year in favor of the resolution. And whereas there are no formal and normal banking relations between Cuba and the United States, with implications for relations with the international banking system. And whereas there are no formal, and whereas the restrictions on Cuba's international financial transactions including those with multilateral organizations for cooperation with the island, have intensified with the implementation of the blockade policy. And whereas, despite the re-establishment of diplomatic relations in 2015, tourism from the United States to Cuba effectively remains illegal, with limited flights to only the capital city, Havana, and hotels remain off-limits under Cuban-United States relations restrictions on patronizing companies linked to Cuba's military or security services. And whereas the United States government tightened the blockade against Cuba with amendments to the Cuban Assets Control Regulations to impose increased restrictions on travel, the processing of remittances, and hotel accommodation properties in 2019 and 2020. And whereas the United States on May 15, 2024, removed Cuba from its list of countries not cooperating fully in its fight against terrorism and rescinded Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism on January 14, 2025. And whereas the United States revoked the rescission.
I know why you come to me with that foolishness, you know. You elect a prime minister, and is a prime minister run the country. It is time we learn to hold our leaders accountable for their actions and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses. Otherwise, go elect the people who really run in the country. And I don't want the right start that stupid argument. Hold the people you elect accountable and stop making excuses for them.